Okay, so I'm going to make a start. There are a few more joining us, but first couple of slides are kind of the housekeeping things. So as we say, they won't have missed too much if it's only the original early preamble. So afternoon, everybody. It always feels a bit weird to me that I can't see you, being such a face-to-face kind of person, but I am getting used to using Zoom. We've been at it 2.5 weeks now, and I have to say I've zoomed at the learning curve. So I know you're there, even if I can't see you properly. So maintaining productivity whilst working remotely. Who would have thought so many of us would be facing straight into this? Probably a month ago, not much more. It may have been, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or only occasionally when I choose to work from home. But all of a sudden, it's a really popular topic. So not surprised we've got quite a few of us joining this afternoon. So in terms of this afternoon, we're going to have just about half an hour together, and obviously I've got some content and some kind of territory to explore with you, but as always with us, plenty of opportunity for you to interact with us using some of the polls. Not sure using whiteboard today, but also the chat facility. So I'd like you to use that as we go through to ask any questions, and maybe just for a start right now, just to make sure we all know how to use chat, because I didn't know how to a couple of weeks ago. Would you all like to just perhaps go into chat and just send through anything particular that you're kind of struggling with or would like some help with in terms of being productive whilst working remotely? Can't promise we'll get to it all today, but hopefully we'll answer some of those things. But again, it might be a bit of opportunity for us to talk again beyond today. So whistle into chat and just send a message, which I think just goes to everybody, with something that you're sort of struggling with or curious to explore and know more about in terms of working remotely, now that we're all doing it. While you're doing that, you'll notice your microphones are on mute, so we don't have too many observations of your pets or your children in and out, nice though it is. And like with all our sessions, we're going to be recording this, and then it'll be available for you on our website over the next few days. So that's our commitment, really, to be able to share it back with yourselves beyond today. So while those chats are coming in, of course you're all getting the hang of this now, but you'll see, if you haven't seen it already, on your screen there's that bar, the ribbon could be top or bottom with the chat facility. So we've muted you, but good to keep your camera on, and there will be the odd poll as we go along. We're just going to have a look at some of those chat comments coming in. This is testing my abilities now, and see what kind of things people are interested in. How to get the right balance between time spent on Skype meetings and getting on with the actual job. And actually, people just saying it's just great to connect, even something this afternoon, and distractions. So balance there of meetings and actual work and distractions. That's some of the early thoughts. So thanks for that. Polls are something we've got in hand. So I think Lee is my oppo this afternoon, and he's going to give you a quick poll to see how we're all feeling at 3:05 on a Tuesday afternoon. So that should be on your screen now. So just let us know how you're feeling. Okay, I think that's probably about us. Well, it's good to know nobody's feeling flat or anxious, which is interesting. When I asked a very similar question at the beginning of last week, when a lot of leaders dialing in, there was quite a bit of anxiety and tiredness. Still some tiredness here, but overall the winner is positive. So that's a good place to start. And actually just checking in with how we're feeling, what's our energy level like, is really important when we're working remotely, because we may kind of go on and on, not realizing we are starting to drop in energy or haven't taken a break for ages. So you haven't got all those other social cues around you for someone else to be saying, come on, let's get a coffee, or actually let's walk back between that meeting and this meeting. So just paying attention to how you are feeling is part of looking after yourself, therefore being able to be productive. Okay, so thank you for that. We now know how polls work. So so for those of you who don't know me, this is what the top of my head looks like. I know some of you do know me. I'm in full throttle here, as you can see. at one of our events last year. And a little bit about myself there, for those of you who don't know, I really enjoy volunteering for the National Trust. I've been a member a long time, and I work sort of 3 or 4 days a week now, and I like to give some of my time back. And I absolutely love working with the public and helping family groups get more from their visits. And I know a bit about the history, but it's more about chatting with people about what's important to them and making the links, just like my day job, really. So the houses are all closed at the moment, as you know, but looking forward to getting back to that. So working from home, kind of, you know, something people always fancy doing initially. And, oh, can we work from home? A bit like school kids saying, oh, can we go and study outside? And certainly historically, there's a lot of sort of desire from that, perhaps from, oh, it'd be great if we could do that, and maybe a bit of caution from the organisation. We've moved on a bit now, but when you first have the idea of working from home, some of the thoughts are, is great, no need to travel and spend all that time stuck in traffic, on the tube, train journeys, worrying about delays, and also the cost of the travel, both your own time, company time, but the hard cash cost. So it really saves you all that. It gives you a chance to work more flexibly, and obviously we're going to look at how we make sure that's productive, but that would be the imagined benefit when you first hear about it. And actually, it kind of takes you away from some of the temptation of other spending, either on the coffee machine, coffee shops, canteen, or those of you who normally work in a city centre, just popping out to Costa or even the shops at lunchtime. So the temptation of face-to-face shopping is removed. It gives you a chance to dress differently. We're finding that quite interesting each day, depending on what we're wearing. So you could be more casual, certainly from the waist down, or we've even seen at the odd pyjama bottoms in our own team at times. Maybe not contacted as regularly or kind of interrupted as regularly. You know, the person who walks past your desk and says, have you just got a minute? Of course, that's a lie, because they never mean a minute. That's actually reduced when you're not there visually. A chance to embrace technology, I can agree with this. It really kind of makes you, and obviously then gives you the chance to actually really see how useful that can be, which perhaps you would not have got into so much or so deeply if we were still working back at the ranch. And yes, you can be more productive. And those of us who perhaps previously have worked from home on odd days and odd occasions, I think we probably already know that actually you can get your head down and really get on with something. What becomes a bit different though is when it's every day. And I think most of us are now facing the fact that we're doing it every day or many of our days. So it's a real chance to think about actually what will make it productive over time, what will make it productive in the wider part of my role, particularly when I am the leader for others. So this isn't just about me and my productivity, it's actually how I enable, or perhaps not, the productivity of others. And there is a study, Lee helps me with the slides, he's very good on the research, and actually according to one study, the view was that remote employees actually work 1.4 days more a month than their office-based counterparts, meaning 3 additional weeks of work a year. And I was listening to a session last night from a lady based in Switzerland who works with call centres, and they all work remotely. And she was saying it's a myth that people will skive off and do as little as possible. It's all about how well they feel connected and managed and led. And he said it's also a myth that people who do work remotely all the time resent being managed or their team leader interacting with them. So actually that's what really enhances the relationship and keeps it all meaningful. So the potential to be more productive is clearly there. And who wouldn't want 3 additional weeks of work from the collective team to emerge? So one of the key things to sort of think about is, okay, but what stops that? Because that all sounds great, but what actually stops the barriers to the productivity? So just thinking about yourself first of all, and kind of, you know, you've all been doing it probably now for a week or 2. So again, maybe just a quick chat. Let's just hear from a few of you. What are you finding are the things that you think actually that is getting in the way of my productivity? We had that nice list of benefits, but let's hear a bit of chat about what you think might be getting in the way. Okay. Some of the stuff that we know, and hopefully most of us are past this now, but a lot of what we're talking about could be really interesting for others, is the setup. So have you created an appropriate environment? And we've obviously looked into many people's environments over the last couple of weeks, and some people are clearly in what's probably an office or a spare bedroom with a desk, or maybe even an attic. Quite a lot of people have got sloping ceilings, and actually it looks really quiet, nicely appointed as it were, and away they go. Other people on the kitchen table, in the hallway, obviously in a space where there's family members in and out. So the environment makes quite a difference in terms of ability to focus, but also, have you got daylight? Have you got enough desk space? Have you actually taken the time to actually think about what is my optimum environment in the house? And the equipment, I mean, some of us just dashed home from work with a laptop under our arm without too much time to think. One or two people. Right, I'm just getting a message here that my screen isn't showing, so I'm just going to do something about that. And come back in. See, I was obviously talking a bit too glibly there about being good with slides. Lee, can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, could you put your slides on for us?
I can.
Thank you. That's why it's good to have two of you on these things. That's a different workshop, I think, how to run things virtually. Are they there?
He's loading up.
Okay. So we're just talking about setup. Yeah, I think what it's saying there is about equipment. So I'm sure most of us obviously got our laptops at home, but just thinking more broadly, have you got everything you need? Have you got a good chair? Have you got a good desk to sit at? Because we're probably spending a lot more time sat at this desk maybe than we would have been if we're in the office. So something about comfort and looking after yourself in that way. And then the other thing I think in terms of setup is really thinking about the working pattern, the flexibility, particularly here at the moment when obviously we've all got other things to be trying to weave in. So, you know, actually homeschooling, time frames, partners who are working from home, and start to think about actually how am I going to set up some of the boundaries to manage that. So we're talking here kind of setup and the environment. Obviously there's a time one there. And actually thinking about actually what's expected of me and myself in this new situation. One of the things I've also thought about is where's my IT tech support? Obviously I've got Lee, but for yourselves thinking actually how will I get the support that I may have otherwise got in the office? What is it I will need to have kind of lined up for myself? All think about sort of as a checklist when we start. Go on to the next slide, Lee. So tools and technology. Okay, that was just the point I was saying. So keeping connected with your IT support. We're really finding these visual methods so superior to just telephone calls, and our clients are telling us the same thing. When you're doing the video team meetings, realize it's a really good opportunity for you to get your energy levels topped up as well as what you're talking about. I saw from the lady at the beginning about how to make sure you're not spending too much time doing these things, but for some of us, perhaps they're a rarity. We've put in a morning meeting at the moment, 9 o'clock, so we all kind of come together, but actually that gives you a social fix as well. And some of our clients have said that some of their teams have actually set up an 11 o'clock and a 3 o'clock just to come together for a cup of tea. So they're not talking business, they're just coming together to have that kind of social connection. And then a WhatsApp group's also been really useful to keep another sort of set of contacts going. So all the technology available to us, really, really helpful. But I've got that word of me about how making sure we don't overdo that. So going to move into some tips really. So Lee and I put our heads together about what we thought would be really useful tips for us from today, from what we've learned, assuming once you've got that set up. So if we go on to the next slide, Lee. Our first one is around thinking about when you are your most productive. Now, this is everything to do from body clocks to the pattern in your household, what else is going on. But it's really important, and obviously it's possible to work out when is your ideal productivity time. So I'm just going to do a poll now to see what you reckon it is for yourself, having been doing it for a couple of weeks. So Lee's going to do the poll. When do you feel most productive? Okay. Okay, so that was a big vote for the morning. Just in case everyone can't see it, but the vast majority is saying the morning, 9 till 12. And then for some of you, actually, it's before 9. Interestingly, in some other groups I've talked to, actually, because of the children and things, they have really found actually it's much better to get a slug of work done in the evening when the kids are happy, you know, having had their tea and watching telly. So they've made a choice really to take some non-work time in the afternoon and put some work into the evening. Another client had to work in the evening following the government briefing, pulling it together. What does it mean for the organisation to get messages back to the senior team for the following morning? So she was working every evening, and the advice was, okay, well, accept that. In that case, you need to take some time back for yourself. Otherwise, you're almost overworking. So it's a simple one. Know when this is, and then try and schedule your work to play to this strength or do the more challenging work then. Something else is worth thinking about. Normally you have a break in the morning, as it were, as you travel to work. From when you get up and get dressed and have your breakfast and those things, there is normally a gap then before working. So you might want to think about how you might address that difference. Maybe once you're all ready, you then go for a walk, or maybe take some of that exercise where allowed, or, you know, do the Joe Wicks video. I think he's 9 o'clock, but maybe you could video him from the day before. So there might be something about putting back in that kind of breather between home and work. Risk is you're up, maybe you dress down to the waist, still got your pajamas on, straight into the office. And actually that may be kind of whizzing you too quickly and not giving you that breather there. The other thing to think about is your sleep patterns and how that plays to this. If you're a really early bird, you may be really happy to be up and about, particularly with the fine weather, doing a slug of work from 6 to 9 that you wouldn't normally do. Okay, if we can remove the poll then, Lee. So that gives us one of our thoughts there. So tip number 2 then is about taking breaks. Again, really important, because you might miss the social cues of the office that would help you do that. This is a sort of technique that we came about in our research. Again, you'll know what works for you, but actually getting your head into a proper task, as it were, work on it for 25 minutes max. So maybe use your phone to manage the time, and then actually record for yourself you've done that. 5-minute break, definitely get up, move around, few stretches, refresh your drink, whatever it is. We shouldn't be sitting still for too long anyway, and then come back. And then actually, so you kind of almost work in chunks. Not quite sure why it's Pomodoro. Anybody knows, they can let us know. But being sort of consciously making sure you don't sit still for more than half an hour. And of course, in terms of focusing, I think they say it's something like 15, 20 minutes to really focus. Then you need kind of a breather and come back in. Okay, next one, Lee. Now, this is an interesting one. So it may be down to you now to work out a to-do list that works for you. Now, sometimes you tend to feel, oh, there's a way to do this, which obviously means write everything down, use your electronic tools, carry the tasks forward. But actually, that might not be the best way for you. And you may have some other ways that you need to do it that are going to help you with managing maybe everything else you've got to do. But what is it that would help you keep focus for the day? So any ideas about how people are doing that, in terms of how are you deciding what to do and managing a to-do list? Let's hear a bit about that. Okay. So my advice there really is make sure it works for you. Don't sort of get some slavish thing that doesn't work, or just piles and piles of paper. So you'll need to do this for yourself, whichever way might work. Okay, Lee, next one. So again, this will probably be more of a problem for some than others, but actually if you're using your technology, particularly your phone, it will keep pinging with all kinds of things, which seem to be Uncle Tom Cobley's got a WhatsApp group at the moment. Then you've got the news feed and all that kind of stuff coming in, as well as anything else you might normally find more alluring, such as Facebook. So you might want to think, okay, how do I control that? How do I perhaps turn the beep off on the phone? How do I actually put the phone somewhere separate when I'm doing laptop work? And then maybe when I'm having my breaks, actually part of my break is to now check my phone and see what's happening. So, we're in charge of these electronic devices, and it's easy to think they get in charge of us. So think about how to make sure you're not getting these interruptions that may be more noticeable at home because you're not in a quiet office or you're not in a sort of formal meeting. They can become a real distraction doing that. Okay, next one, Lee. Save calls for the afternoon. So it's interesting, most of you said your energy was best in the morning for kind of, getting your head down and getting things done. And then in the afternoon, there's that natural kind of lull of energy, but also it's probably the time when you're feeling more in need of that human interaction. I might say if you've got a very difficult call to make, probably in the morning and get it done. But if you've got calls that feel more energizing for you, more enjoyable, kind of having some of those in the afternoon gives you something to look forward to, but tops up your energy again then. Okay, next one. Yeah, you're at home now, so you've got some choices about background. We've muted you all just to keep it clear for today, but actually you might want to be consciously choosing what you have in the background. So that could be music, it could be TV turned down low, I gather that works for some people, or silence. And actually, particularly with the weather now, it's a fantastic time to hear the birds singing, that kind of thing. So think about what kind of ambient music you want to create. Perhaps at work you just wouldn't have had the choice for this, really. Okay, next one. And you do need to interact with others. And I think particularly now we're doing this possibly day after day after day, rather than the odd day working from home that we've chosen, you really do need to think about where do I get those interactions in. And obviously, depending what your household is like, this could be your feline friends or your dogs, or other particular people, really. And also just thinking about actually who are the people that are really constructive for you during a working day, and perhaps those that are less so. So you might want to kind of like seek out the family member or the person who will be energizing for you or kind of appropriate, and maybe keeping the other ones until outside of work time. Not always necessarily so easy to do, but thinking about what really helps. Okay, next one. Yeah, pick a definitive finish time for each day. This is really easy now to kind of overwork and leak on into the evening when that may be not really what you want to do, but you just find yourself doing it because you can. So this is work. We are at work. So having made that plan earlier about when's my best work time, when do I want to be off, then within that there needs to be an end point to the day. And just something to add in, that there was one of the questions that came up earlier about how to make sure you're not spending too much time on Skype. We have still got our diaries, and I think there's something about actually how we're managing that. So if you find you're not getting enough time to get on with the work, what I would suggest there is booking that in the way that you might have done in a busy office. So booking into your diary, like time with yourself, or write that report or whatever it may need to be, think through those figures. So almost booking that into your diary, then others, if they look at your diary, will see that. So it isn't just a free for all. So I think that's my top tip there. Number 9, Lee. Now this is interesting because we can start to feel a bit isolated at a sort of social level and interaction level. Understand that, sitting still, looking at the screen, that's not this. But actually, it's easy to also lose a bit of touch about actually not exactly what am I achieving, could be that, but who is noticing what I'm achieving? Where's my opportunity to share what I've got done today, or I've got this thing sorted, and also to offer that support to others. So we might need to be more creative here, thinking about how to do this. So within some of your regular updates with people, just think about the agenda you've got there. And initially in times like this, we're very strong on emotional support for each other. How is everybody? What's going on? Lots of time on that. But as we're getting into it now, we also need to be still saying that, of course, but then getting into, so what are you focusing on today? What did you get done yesterday? What are we heading for next week? How are the numbers coming through? So thinking of ways that you can share your own achievements and results with others and letting them share with you. So building it into your regular updates is one obvious place that may have been otherwise rather dominated on the emotional side at the moment. And the last one, which comes as no surprise to those you know about well-being, is get outside. I was freshening these slides up earlier today, and in my 3/4 of an hour before coming on, I did that. So I'd written a letter there. How great is that? So I walked to the post box and posted it. So get some fresh air. It's so available to us. Most of us, I hope. I know some people are working in, flats in London, not quite so easy. But if at all possible, make sure you're building in some of those fresh air breaks. Okay, so that's a bit of a quick run through, really, some of the top tips for yourself and others. But also, most of you probably are also a leader to others, other people, are looking to you for leadership and help in this time. So there's a final few points here on that score. So this is a great piece of time to actually practice empowerment, enabling others to take things forward for themselves and demonstrating your trust in them. It's harder to micromanage from a distance, thank goodness for that. When you're on the video calls, you're on. So actually treat it as though it's a meeting. So get yourself ready for it, maybe with your drink and your blank pad or whatever, but really be aware that if you start to let your attention drift, others will notice and you won't be getting the most on that occasion. So consider how you praise and encourage. Just talked about that in terms of people knowing that they are valued, that they are achieving things, that they're kind of noticed. We still need to be noticed. I'm coming around the right-hand side here. Could be a chance for you to think about a coach or sort of a way to reflect so you can capture the learning for you during this period. Bottom right again, and just watch out for your own mental health and energy and well-being, and obviously that of others around you. Back over to the left, just be aware about making assumptions about why other people might not be able to get back to you or why they're not doing things. We've noticed for these webinars, you know, there's a good sign up and that's great. And then actually there's always a handful that sign up and then don't come. And you might think, oh, why is that then? But there could be all sorts of reasons for that. And we wanted to offer these out to help those who are able to dial in. And on the team sessions, just think about how you might share some of this stuff with people around you. Don't assume they're all going to be great at working from home from scratch. I wasn't a couple of weeks ago, and I'm certainly much better now. So that's kind of as far as we wanted to go. If there's any kind of jumping ideas and things coming through, we've spoken a bit there about how to minimize the interruptions, which was something you wanted at the beginning, and getting the right environment. One or two of you mentioned that. Trying to homeschool at the same time and balancing it all. And that's part of planning your day and thinking how you kind of marshal your resources, really. Okay, so hopefully we've given you, oh, missed tip 5. Please could you show again, someone has said. That's going to be on the webinar, but that's save calls for the afternoon. So getting more of that kind of brain work done in the morning and then treating yourself with that sort of emotional energy from the calls in the afternoon. So Ray, if you can whistle us along to the end, that would be great. So just some other things that we're thinking about and offering is recognize this kind of working in change is going to be with us for a while and real opportunity for learning, but also for us to be able to help your people with hints and tips and really thinking about what's going on, how to manage it. So on the left there, we've got 3 short workshops we've just put together that may be useful for your people, your teams, leading remote teams, leading in change, leading for health and well-being. And Lee, my colleague, is our qualified mental health trainer, and we're just putting on some additional dates to be able to do some mental health awareness sessions online. So very, very topical. So if they're of any interest at all, let us know. There's more webinars coming up. I think today is April the 7th, so that's I think we've got a day off for good behaviour tomorrow, and then we're in again on Thursday. So if any of these look interesting, please do sign up or encourage others to sign up. You know, friends, people you just know who'd find it helpful. It's not exclusive to the people we already know. And here's the final stuff. Those of you who know us, that's what we all look like. Do follow us on LinkedIn. That can keep in touch with everything else that we're doing. And we are interested in your feedback. So what's coming up next and finally is one of those codes. So if you'd like to give us some feedback, it's really helpful. And also any other topics you'd like us to cover. We put a schedule together doing this quite quickly a couple of weeks ago. And we're kind of working our way through that, and certainly want to carry on helping people in this way. So if there's a kind of topic and things that either we haven't suggested or you would value, let us know, and then we can put some time together to be with you again then. So that's about time out, conscious of time, and I think we've responded to most of the questions that came through. I'll have a proper read afterwards in case you missed anything. Okay, so thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. So go and enjoy your afternoon, but get some fresh air first. Thank you then. Bye, everyone.